Hello, and welcome to the Sovereign Collective podcast, where we bring you real, raw truth for your self-empowerment. I'm your host, Sasha Calavoda, and I believe that you can stand on your own 2 feet, but that you don't have to do it alone. I love learning from people who continually strive to raise the bar, to go against mainstream thinking, and who dare to question the general consensus. People who risk being ridiculed or even risk the loss of their professional status as they bravely question the common narratives and challenge the rest of us to expand our minds and to reconsider what we think we already know. Join me in learning how to take control of your health and your mind so that you can have the energy to think more clearly and the confidence to step up and take responsibility for all aspects of your life. We promise to never censor here because I believe you are strong enough to hear the real, raw truth to make up your own mind. If you like what you find here at the Sovereign Collective podcast, then please share with your friends and family. I so appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. And now, on to the show. Hello, everyone. It's Sasha here with another interview for your Conscious Pregnancy and Parenting Guide.
Okay, whoa. Stop. This is not your Conscious Pregnancy and Parenting Guide. This is, in fact, the Sovereign Collective podcast. I made a bit of a boo-boo because in the past I have interviewed Naomi for my program called Your Conscious Pregnancy and Parenting Guide. So just wanted to correct the record here. This is the Sovereign Collective podcast. I hope you enjoy.
Today, I am with the wise and wonderful Naomi Aldort. She's a renowned speaker. She is the author of this obligatory book for parents, even if you're not a parent, because it kind of gives insight into a lot of different things, not just parenting. And she's also the parenting coach you're looking for, the parenting guides that you're looking for, right? And I think her work is becoming increasingly important in a time where our kids are targeted and they're getting told all sorts of messages and the ideas that we have about how to raise healthy, well-adjusted children. I don't know where they're coming from, but they're not going to serve that end, that's for sure. And so I'm really glad we can make this interview happen because it was scheduled very last minutely after I responded to something that Naomi posted on her Facebook page. And it was a meme that was created around one of her quotes. And it says, "Powerful people are not those whose life flows with no pain, but those who have the strength to move through pain and come out richer on the other side," right? Who are we if we don't struggle, if we have everything given to us and handed to us, and if we have there's no perspective, right? So this is a really important topic that we need to get out there these days when we're teaching that we can't defend people, that we have to make sure that we call them the way that they want to be referred to as, that, that everybody gets a badge and everybody gets a ribbon and everybody, everybody, when it's true, it's not true. So Naomi is very, very passionate about this topic right now. It's funny, she sent me a list that I saw this morning about all the things that she wanted to touch on, and I was reading this out to my husband, and it's all amazingly relevant. And the funny thing is, it's all the stuff that he also talks about basically to the adults who are trying to fix themselves after having these messed up childhoods and all these weird messages given to them. They don't know who they are. So it's so funny. It's always relevant. It doesn't matter at what age we're looking at these things. Ultimate self-responsibility, knowing who you are, is really key to self-fulfillment, in my opinion. So thank you, Naomi, for being with me once again. Oh, and before that, if you don't know who Naomi's is, I've interviewed her a few times before. So if you look at my episodes numbers 4 and 5, when I first started this podcast as a result of crazy events that started to occur in 2020, I believe it was when I started this, 2021. And then also 2 great interviews, parts 1 and 2 are episodes 27 and 28, all about self-directed learning. Very, very important topic for those who are not trusting the system or want a different point of view when it comes to education. Really amazing. Naomi is an amazing resource for that kind of info, whether you find her info online or if you work with her directly, which I encourage that you do. So thank you, Naomi, for being with me today. I'm really excited to talk about this topic.
Thank you. And you didn't say what the topic is, I think.
Well, the topic is, basically it's coming from that quote. We're going to talk about basically in my opinion, in my view, it's creating resilience and strength and, somebody that can just be blown in every direction, wherever the wind is blowing, kind of thing, because they know who they are and they're not affected by somebody else's opinion of themselves. If that's what I think it is. Right. So Yeah, so let's start right away, Naomi, about why are you so passionate about this? You said you were getting out your ideas out of your head yesterday and it's just big long list. So obviously this is top of mind for you. So what is sparking this subject for you?
Well, it's sparked for a few years now because parents from all over the world call me and take sessions with me and even come here from other countries and from this country to work with me. And I see almost everyone is having the same issues. And also, I see what's going on in universities already, the kids that grew up with this issue, and we have the highest rate of anxiety, depression. Young people are not able to hold a job, are shying away from relationships, having less sex than ever before. Um, yeah, even that has been showing up a reduction. They're afraid to get into it, afraid to get to relationship, unable to handle criticism, get all falling apart over somebody tells them that what they did isn't the cat's meow and it's not where, and we started with babies, we tell them that they're all this unique, spatial, nobody else is like them, they're this wonderful, amazing person. We praise them. We tell them, oh, you did great, you did great, you did great, or what you said in school, everybody gets a prize, everybody is great. We make sure that everybody's head is cut in the same place in the outcome, right? Oh, we all reach there. Nobody should stick out. No merit. The end of merit is penetrated not only politics, but it comes into the home and into the schools. So we can't, we have to be so careful. And I see how parents with best of intentions, and it's really with best of intentions, because now there are younger parents that maybe didn't have it as bad, but many in the beginning of my 35 years ago when I started teaching, a lot of the parents came from abuse, came from bad, authoritarian, controlling, abusive, and they wanted to not do that. And that's obviously harmful. There's no question about that.
Right.
But they bent the stick the other way much too far with fear and anxiety. So now we have parents who, if the child is unhappy, it's like, oh, we'll fix it. Here, have this. And we start with the baby. The baby is crying. Oh, here, Jingle, look at this, do this, get the boob, and the boob, yeah, if they want to nurse, I'm all for meeting needs. Baby, meet their need, change their diaper, hold them all the time, give body contact, sleep together. Yes, all of it. Find what's going on. But sometimes the baby is not going to get what they want. Something that you can't figure out is bothering them. They may have gas, and yeah, you do your best. You lift the legs, you burp them, you do everything, and it still hurts, and they cry. So, we distract them from their feelings by jingling and jumping and doing all these amazing things.
Giving them a phone. We give them phones to look at, babies. That's what I see people doing.
Really, I haven't seen that.
Oh, I've seen it many times. Many times.
Yeah, and the gadgets are a problem altogether. Yeah, they're very destructive, very addictive, but also sweet things, once they're toddlers and, here, have some ice cream, here, have this chocolate, or, compensating by giving all this, which is harmful biologically and actually causes the mental issues as well. So we're raising people who are unable to handle real life. In real life, people offend us.
Right.
People criticize us. People tell us we're stupid. I have another video on I mentioned it in few of them, but there's a video of just a segment of a workshop that I teach about calling another child stupid. Right? So normally what I see parents do, and I have to stop them, that's why people come all over here so I can catch them doing these things. one child calls the other stupid. What do parents usually do? Oh, no, you're not stupid. Oh, did he hurt your feelings? Please don't say that stuff. That hurts their feelings. Are we teaching them to be wimps who can't handle that somebody tells them you're stupid? And so what I do, so people say, so what do you teach? And I say to accept the information with gratitude. So I tell this story, I think on that video, but I'll tell it again, of a family intensive it's called Family Intensive Retreat when people come here.
Yeah.
So this family with two children, boy and girl, and I was with the mother in the car, and the mother was driving, it was their car. And the boy was, they started fighting, and the boy calls his sister stupid. And what I did in order to shift their way of thinking from defending yourself and being in pain, no, I'm not stupid, to acceptance of what a person tells you. So it's not about that she's not stupid. It's about that she is sometimes. Maybe she just said something stupid. So when he called her stupid, I said, me too, I'm stupid too. And I told him a story about something I've done that was really stupid. Like the other day, I was cooking something and I was right there by what I cooked. And because the phone rang and I was talking on the phone, I burned it, right there, standing right there, everything boiled over and burnt. And then they got excited. They got such a relief. Oh, I don't have to fight to defend my self-image. It's, I just want to, it reminds me something that I want to say. No, in relation. So I don't have to defend my self-image. I can recognize that I was just stupid because he called me stupid. How? Tell me more. This is the magic words that I teach, not please and thank you, but tell me more. Anyway, so I told them more without saying the words, tell me more. I told them, yeah, I'm stupid too. Yesterday I did this. They started laughing and telling all their stupid moments.
Right.
Oh, I did too. I'm a stupid too. I did this. No, I did this. Everybody tries to show even a higher stupidity. And then the mother joined. I mean, we're all human.
Right.
If there is an adjective in the dictionary, I'm it.
Right.
Stupid, stinky, idiot, asshole, mean, wonderful, lovely, all of it. If there is an adjective, the adjective came on the back of human beings. Human language invented those things because we have these qualities. And being powerful, which is what the quote is about living in peace with all one's own qualities and reality. It's like, no, I'm not getting a candy now. No, I'm crying now, and it's fine to cry. But the self-image is very confusing for people because we have created an adoration of self-esteem and self-image. And we think that we have to pump it, that because we grew up with parents who told us you're no good and you're stupid and shut up and all that, that self-expression, which I advocate for in my book, but people think it means adoring everything and saying that everything is good. It isn't.
It isn't.
It isn't. And other people will say all kinds of things to you, and parents come and buffer. You're like, oh, no, it's all right. Or they call their child very sensitive. That's not sensitivity. That's fear for self-image. Am I good enough? Because we teach them that they have to guard their self-image or else they're not loved, not worthy, or whatever. It's like, you don't, raise ordinary people. Stop raising unique, spatial. They can't live up to it. Then they become depressed as teenagers or young adults because, oh my God, I have to be this. My parents and my teacher expect me to be the winner and the spatial and the unique and such a great person. And God, it's hard. I can't keep doing that. It was easy when I was 4 years old, because then I danced and sang a song, and my grandma and mother and everybody cheered and thought that, I'm the queen of the West. But, that's why don't do it then either. Have a good time. But when we praise them for everything they do, they come down the slide and we go, wow, cheerleaders. They may not had a wow altogether. They may have been scared to go down the slide. So I teach to reflect whatever they're feeling. It's like, or ask them, how was it? Well, it was scary. Do you want to do it again? No, that's fine. Or maybe, yeah, I want to do it again, but I want you to hold my hand when I go down. I'm talking somebody maybe goes down the slide first time. Because when we do the cheerleading thing, we're creating fragile people who think that all the time, unless they are winners and get what they want, they can't handle not getting what they want. They can't handle, and parents by mistake call it sensitivity. That's not sensitivity. Sensitivity is actually the opposite. It's not being focused on the self. Sensitivity is compassion. It's being aware of the other. That's why I teach parents how to, and it's normal for children to be self-centered. They have to raise themselves, and that's fine,
Yeah.
right? So we're not fighting it. We're not telling them, hey, don't be self-centered and think of others. But you can immerse them in recognizing that there are other people. You're in a restaurant with a 3-year-old, everybody's talking quiet. So we're going to talk quiet so other people can have their own quiet in their own table. Or I took my children at age 2 and 3 to concerts, and they would sit quietly through a concert. You just tell them in a concert, everybody sits quietly and listens to the music. They can do it. But people are afraid to give basic guidance on how the world works. Oh, it's a child and they need to scream in the middle of, in the restaurant or something, or crawl under the table or go and do all kinds of mess. No, then don't take them yet. They're not ready.
Not ready. Yeah.
So we're doing all this and teaching the children also to seek approval by praising them all the time. Oh, good job, good girl, good boy, good job. You did it. You did it. Oh, you did it. Look how capable you are. You climbed the tree all by yourself. So even people think, there was the book 30 years ago, How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk, which
Right.
people still read and think that that's the solution. Well, it was a move in the right direction, but not far enough. Because like in terms of praise, it says just describe it. Oh, you made it all the way by yourself to the top of the tree or top of the slide. That's praise. That's making a fuss about it. Why not say nothing? If an adult climbed a tree, you wouldn't say anything. If an adult is washing the dishes, you don't stand there and say, oh, wow, you washed the dishes all by yourself. Look how clean you did, such a good job. It's like we're both patronizing, it's not respectful, and we keep giving them the message that they have to be so successful, and then if they fail, they can't handle it. Oh, mommy, the tower fell, and they can't handle it. And I'm not saying a toddler shouldn't cry if the tower fell, but generally, I help the child move on into the future.
Right.
So, because we're teaching children to be victims. The victim is the one who gets rewards and virtue. But that we do that as a whole society. We do that in universities. We do it in big groups. Whoever is the victim is the one we take sides with. But that's not always right.
Right.
And it's a lot easier to not take sides and listen. So with siblings, I have a whole teaching about how to handle it such that everybody is empowered to take responsibility.
Right.
And not to seek approval and not to have to defend oneself. It's fine if somebody calls you stupid, back to our example, or points out that you stink, you just ran a lot and you need a shower, not at age 4, they don't stink yet, but at later ages, yeah, So I invented a game, for example, about name calling, going back to that example. So I sit with parents and their families in a circle, and we call each other names, and we throw a pillow. We don't use a ball because then we'll spend more time collecting it from wherever it rolls. So we use pillows. And we throw the pillow to a person and say, you're stupid, or you're stinky, or you're, mean, or whatever names. It can be good things too, but mostly the idea is about the bad things. And the game is to accept the offer. If there's a game, I borrowed that from a game, Accept the Offer, in improvisational theater.
Oh, okay.
I learned with my children in improvisation theater class. So you catch the pillow and you always say, so the way you do it in the game is you say thank you when you get the pillow, and then you look for the truth in it. And when you find it, you say, I found it. And you can tell your example, just like the children did with the stupid. So you're mean. Thank you. I found it. Yesterday, when my brother, I yelled at him, or I hit him, or I pulled his toy away and I hid it. So you tell your stories, or you throw the pillow, you're stinky, and say, yeah, yesterday I was, I farted, or I vomited, or, funny things that evoke laughter and reality of life that children laugh about. So don't shy away from, stinky language and what it is. Yes, I stunk so bad. I vomited all over the place. And then I had the runs on top of it, and, just exaggerate. And then the children will tell their story. I too. And some children are so defensive by now because of years of all this praise and protection and avoidance of discomfort and pain, that they don't want to play the game. Even when they come here after a few days of getting better at these things. And I say, fine, you just sit and watch. Because it's also healing. It'll give them, after a couple of days that we do it here, they start joining the game or not. I never insist. I never tell a child, you have to play the game. That's not respectful. They are where they are. But watching the game, watching their own brother or sister playing and their parents laughing and having a good time and accepting, oh yes, I was so mean, or I was such an idiot, or whatever we call them. And they realize nobody's hurt. It's fine. And this is the opposite of what the culture is teaching. It's really painful to see that.
It might be a good game for adults to play too. Really?
Oh, absolutely. The adults are in the game. So they, like the name of my book, Raising Our Children, Raising Ourselves, because we're creating that. And the other thing that we do that's really very harmful is we talk about emotions that's too much.
Right.
We tell children all the time to be in touch with their feelings, and we tell them how you feel. If a child comes home and says, Bobby didn't play with me today, he didn't treat me nice, it's fine to unleash the emotion initially. Oh, okay. Do you want to tell me more about it? But then we say, how did you feel about it? So how did you feel when you... So when your sister doesn't want to play with you, how do you feel? How do you feel? What they're learning is their feelings are where they should focus. So now they're depressed. Who has good feelings all the time? Nobody. If you check with your feelings, you're going to be depressed. It's like, how often are we happy? And parents are committed to that the child should be happy all the time. It's like, no. Like the child comes and says, like in this example, my friends won't play with me. One of the tricks that I teach, it's not a trick, it's just powerful, is don't dwell on the past, don't blame anybody, and don't fix anything. Instead, point to the future with acceptance of what happened. So, Thea won't play with me. What would you like to do instead?
Right.
Simple. Because what parents would do is, let me go with you to the play area and let me talk to Thea. Thea, why don't you play with her? Let's be inclusive. Another
There's a word.
political terminology,
Yeah.
it's like, no, you don't have to be always inclusive.
No.
It's fine for someone to say, I don't want to play with you. Be honest. So Thea doesn't want to play with you. Okay, I'll play with you. Or would you like to sit in the kitchen? I'm making lunch. You can help me, or you can paint. I can give you some papers and crayons. So that's like, what would you like to do instead? Teaches the person to be powerful, to accept reality. Reality is Thea doesn't want to play with you. That's all right. It's not a disaster that you can't handle. Because when we go and fix it and coerce Thea, and then she plays with you and she really doesn't want to, not only we pump her inauthentic, weird relationships, but we're teaching the child that they can't handle not being played with. That if somebody rejects them, why wouldn't they not want to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend when they grow up? What if that girlfriend will reject them like Thea did? End of the world. They already learned that they can't handle if somebody rejects them and that they have to be rescued from that situation.
I dated a guy like that once. When I broke
Yes.
up with him, it was a nightmare.
Yeah, then they
Yeah.
tell you, if you leave me, I'll commit suicide,
Well, I called the suicide hotline, to be honest. I did.
Yes.
And they
Yeah.
told me it's not my responsibility. I'm like, thank you. That's what I needed to hear. So yeah. Yeah, interesting. And when you ask them how they feel all the time, it really, again, like what I love what you talk about is being rooted in yourself. It's like, so when you're always constantly focusing on, did that make, like, you're basically implying that it doesn't make you feel good, right? Obviously, and you're focusing on it's almost like your value is attached to how other people make you feel, which
Yeah.
is completely powerless.
Powerless. Exactly.
Right.
You're dependent on other people and how they treat you, and whether they offended you or not, or whether they criticized you or not, or whether they liked you or not. So now you'll be the most insecure possible, and needing and dependent on the approval of others. And what I teach is to raise children who do not seek approval. And that's being rooted in yourself. Being rooted in yourself isn't digging into your emotions and making a queen and king out of them. Being rooted in yourself is moving on with, okay, who am I? What do I want? Oh, she doesn't want to play with me. Okay, I'll play with someone else. Or I play by myself if there is no one else. Or I'll go and see if my mother wants to play with me, or Aunt Mia, or whoever is there, right?
Right.
Or I'll read a book. That's another thing. People are afraid of boredom. They think they have to entertain their kids all the time. So the kids are not motivated anymore because there's constant stimulation.
Yeah.
They can't create their own, they can't generate interest. They can't generate activity, and they can't be at peace just sitting and meditating, doing nothing, daydreaming. Like what Einstein said is the best developer of the brain. Daydreaming,
Right. I
fantasy,
know. And
imagining things.
that's the problem with all the devices now, right? Because they reach
Yeah.
for something instantly. There's not even a chance to get bored, to be creative, to just sit with your friends somewhere on a rock somewhere and just come up with crazy ideas. Nobody does that anymore.
Yeah. And I see a little child come to mommy or daddy, I'm bored. And mommy thinks, even without the gadgets, even when they're little, like, oh my God, I have to give him something to do so he's not bored. They come and tell me in a session on Zoom, or when they come here, what do I do? My child is bored. He doesn't know what to do. It says, let him be bored. What's the problem?
Right.
And plus, what's bored? The brain always tells you stories. You can't be ever bored if you are in tune. There's always butterfly to look at. A deer goes by, if you're in the country like me, a car goes by, you look out the window. There's clouds, there are leaves in the wind, there's just so much interesting things. But people buy too many toys. They jingle toys in front of babies, stimulation all the time, all the time, and make such a big fuss of every pain and discomfort. Like, oh, you shouldn't be bored. You shouldn't be upset. You shouldn't be hungry. Snacks all the time, which is bad for their health, because there's no break for the stomach to finish job and repair itself from the last poison that went in there. And I'm exaggerating when I call it poison. A lot of parents feed today with awareness and not the sugar and the processed food. But there's a lot of food that still you have to go, even if you eat a vegetable, there's a lot of toxins in vegetables. The liver has to do its job. Give it time, give it a break to repair itself. All these snacks mean that the child's main meals were not nutritious enough.
Well, when my son was really little, we played soccer and they braked in the middle of the soccer game to have a snack. Like,
oh my God. Yeah.
Seriously, you're in the middle of running around playing a sport and you're giving them snacks. First of all, that is completely physiologically counterproductive. And second of all, what are you teaching them right then? Like, what are you teaching them? You can't do anything without having like a snack at arm's length. It was unbelievable. I was completely shocked.
Yeah. That's horrible. And I see that happening too. And parents are almost pushing it, like, oh, you must be hungry. You must be hungry. They're hungry already, or they connect hunger if there is a difficult behavior. If the child misbehaves, oh, he must be hungry, he must be tired. Always trying to solve the problem, like, and no, maybe he just needs to be wild right now, rather than being hungry or tired. And if it's not an appropriate place, then teach them, we can't do it here. Let's go home. We can't have it, an unleashing run in the middle of the supermarket, but we can go home and you can do some running in the yard or in the playground or on the beach or wherever. So you make it possible. You make the setup possible. But we keep doing this ameliorating and making the child, how can we make them happy? Not bored, not this, not that, not hungry, not cold, not warm, too much clothing or too little, it's fine to be too hot. It's fine to be a little cold, and let the child decide, again, rooted in themselves. If you think it'll be too cold and the child doesn't want to wear their coat, take the coat with. So if they come to you and say, I'm cold, they say, here, I have a coat for you. They don't want to wear the gloves. Great. Their body becomes healthier from that, generating heat rather than being covered and not need to generate heat. By the way, the immune system is the same as the body self-heating system. That's why I swim in the cold water, even in the winter.
Good for you. I'm weak. I don't do that. I'm weak.
Yeah. No, but it's an example of they need challenge.
It's resilient.
And let them be by them, and they need to be by themselves and entertain themselves without gadgets and toys. Just be out there with sticks and stones, it's like not letting them be in the wild or be, even if it's at home in the city, just, find what to do with yourself. We don't need entertainment all the time. Or if they injure themselves, the fear of pain. The parents don't want the child to cry. Oh, here, we'll put a bandage. We'll do this. We'll do. You know what I told my children? I hardly ever put a Band-Aid on a scraped knee. I told them, I know it hurts now. Unless it needed cleaning, I said, I'll clean it. The air is the best healer.
Yeah. Because
it dries. You put a Band-Aid on it, it doesn't dry and doesn't heal as fast.
Yeah.
Right? So it depends on the cat. Sometimes, if needed, you put a Band-Aid with a little vitamin A or coconut oil or lard or butter or something natural. I don't put on skin anything that I can't eat. And I do the same with children, or on my hair or anything. If I can't eat it, it's not going into me through the through the skin either, and the same with the children. I didn't know all of that when my children were young, by the way. I learned a lot on the backs of other parents and
Right.
learning over time. But yeah, it's like I have the story about not rushing when a child falls. Parents were, oh no, what happened? You fell. Are you all right? Don't say anything. They may not even come to you. They may get up from the fall and brush themselves off and go on playing. My youngest kid, he was on a tricycle when he was 2 years old or something, and he fell right here. I was sitting here and I saw him fall on the porch, and the tricycle on him, and there was an initial scream, like, that kind of a scream. And I waited. He looked around, and what his brain tells him is no one is getting excited. So probably I have no reason to get excited either. I just fell, because he knows we're looking and we know what's going on. So he got up, got back on the tricycle, and kept riding.
Right.
I never went out.
Yeah.
And when it's a 1-year-old and they learn to walk and they fall, I don't say anything. They get up, they walk again, they smile excitedly that they walk. I smile back at them like nothing happened. So I teach them that it's fine. It's fine to have some pain. But if they're coming in crying, again, I don't maximize the drama. I minimize the drama without suppressing emotions. I mean, if they cry and they need to cry, say, yeah, I know it hurts right now. Would you like me to hold you? Would you like, would you like me to give you a kiss or whatever? I'm responsive and kind, of course,
Right.
but not pampering a sense that disaster happened. Oh no, what a bummer. Oh no, you scraped your knee. Oh, look, it's bleeding. Let's see, we're going to do something. Let's put a Band-Aid on it and wrap it. And
Well, and that's the thing, because then they end up needing that, right? Every time that situation happens.
that's right.
And then
Exactly.
they evolve into adults that need that in a way when they're older. And it's really it's different when an adult, like when a kid is displaying this behavior and an adult is displaying this behavior, it's very, very different. It's very unbecoming, right? When
But they learn it as a little kid.
Exactly.
They learn
Exactly.
that, yeah, and then as adults, trivial things they can't handle.
Exactly.
Trivial calamities that we all have all the time, for which when we were young, when I was young anyway, it's called like, okay, you're being sad, your boyfriend left you, or you separated from your boyfriend, or your grandmother died, or whatever. Yeah, you're sad. Now everything is labeled.
Yes.
Depression, anxiety disorder, and this disorder, and that disorder, and ADHD, and it's like all these labels that enable and justify. So now, oh, he can be this way because he has this disorder.
Right,
He can
of
be
course.
this way because he has this disorder. Oh, he can just learn to be human being and live with human beings and handle some. And I'm not saying that there are no issues that are special and have to be handled, but that's really rare. The thing is that we turn every normal human issue into some labeling, disability, diagnosis of something, so that the child will know from now on that you are this and you are that, and that's why you can scream as much as you want, but that's why you can have tantrums as much as you want, because you have this thing. And we don't look at why they have this thing. Maybe we're just not meeting some basic need. So I'm not saying to be rude. I'm not the old-fashioned, it's like, shut up, don't scream, and, I'll give you something to scream about. Of course not. I'm talking about being kind, but being in reality, So, yeah, I know this hurts. Your friend doesn't play with you, or somebody pushed you away, or they won the game and you want to. Yeah, they have no muscle to losing games either.
Right.
They always have to win because the parents told them all the time, you're a winner, you're so special, you're so unique, and they played with them and let them win all the time. And then they don't win in real life with another friend, and they're not going to play with them ever again with that friend. They have no friends. Children aren't making friends. A client of mine told me, my child is very sensitive, and I try to validate and say, I know this is hard, and I know you feel this and you feel that. It's all about self-image. Like I said, that's not sensitivity, right? But she admitted when she called me first time, she said, no matter how much I validate and tell him he's all right and that I love him and everything, he's becoming more and more sensitive, what I call fragile in terms of self-image. And it's not in spite of it, it's because she's doing what she's doing. And this particular mother took enough sessions to learn and turn it around. It's like, oh, so I shouldn't just pamper their self-esteem. We turn self-esteem into this God that has to be pampered all the time, or the child won't survive. And it's the other way around. Now they think I'm supposed to be this spatial unique thing, and they can't handle when they're not. When they get their first job and they're just another person in the office, and when they don't do things well, they're going to be maybe shouted at, maybe fired, maybe told this isn't good. You're not doing very well. And what? Are they going to burst out crying or commit suicide? Or they get a bad grade? Teachers in universities are saying they can't give real grades anymore.
Yeah.
They're afraid these people will commit suicide or become so depressed and anxious, and they make the tests simpler and they give good grades to everybody, and nobody can survive real life. So the bottom line of what we're doing wrong is we're teaching the child to defend their ego.
Okay. So
right?
how do you teach them to be rooted in themselves and know? Like, I remember you said something that I really liked is, say you were saying an example of some kid and somebody called them something. And I'm pretty sure it was you who said, well, is it true? Right? Like, so what somebody says it, just because somebody says something doesn't make it true, doesn't make it
Right.
right. So
It depends on the purpose of that question. So this is the work of Byron Katie, which I
Okay.
teach to the parents, and also they learn to do with the children.
Right.
But if one child called the other child an idiot, and I say to the child who was called an idiot, is it true? I'm teaching them to be weak. In that moment, I'm telling them what to be defensive.
Okay.
You see, like he called you an idiot. Why don't you recognize how you were an idiot in this game you just played, about which he called you an idiot? And, so I would do the work with them not on, is it true that you're an idiot, to recognize, no, I'm not. I would do, your friend shouldn't call you an idiot when you throw the dice all the way out the window. For whatever happened. Is that true, that he shouldn't call you an idiot, that you should have control? Because it's all about dependency on other people. Blame,
Yes.
blame,
Right.
blame, victim, victim, victim.
Yes.
So this is not a good time to say, is it true?
Okay.
But to say, I'm an idiot too, and give an example. So you are turning them around. You go to the part of the work of Byron Katie, the turnaround, which children do very well with. With adults, you can't go directly there. But when I say I'm an idiot too, and tell a story, the child laughs. They recognize, oh yeah, and I was an idiot throwing the dice out the window. Now we have no dice, we can't play the game. Right? So it's the time to ask, he shouldn't call you an idiot. Did you tell yourself that he shouldn't call you an idiot, and that's why you're crying? Yes. And then they're very honest. It's very straightforward. It's the same with physical pain. They scrape their knee and they're crying, even though the pain is gone. It's not a big scrape, let's say.
Right.
And you say to them, are you crying because you remember how painful it was the moment you fell, or how scared you were? And usually the 3-year-old will say, yeah, it was scary. Scratched me. Yeah, I know. And then they realize, and is it painful now? Let's notice and feel it. And they usually look down and say, oh, I don't really feel it anymore. I'm talking when it's not bleeding, burning, or,
Right.
when
Yeah.
it's one of those scratches that look white and are not really serious. And they realize that their thought, so his thought is he shouldn't call me an idiot. It's not whether they're idiot or not, because we want to help them see that they are idiots sometimes and be powerful about it. How can you be powerful when you're afraid of what people tell you?
Right. Right.
When
Right.
you look at
Yes.
powerful people, they're the ones who can take it in.
Right.
It's not like somebody calls me an idiot and I'm powerful. I know I'm not an idiot. That's weakness. I'm powerful because I can recognize that I am an idiot.
Right.
It doesn't hurt.
Right.
It's fine. I can say thank you that you pointed it out. One more way I know not to be idiot next time. For the many other ways that I will continue being an idiot, I have one less. I learned a lesson. And maybe I didn't. Maybe I'll be an idiot in the same thing too. But then I'll be grateful when somebody calls me an idiot on that or tell me I did something stupid. And yeah, we can go it, well, you can tell it in a nicer way. Well, model that. Children learn what they model. If you don't want children to grow up and call each other idiot, you can say, did you think that was a useful thing to do, to throw the dice out the window? Did that work? Is the game now more fun without the dice? Or so yeah, you can do it in a gentler way. But people in the world are not going to always do it in a gentler way.
No. No.
We also
Right.
need freedom to tell the truth. If somebody thinks I'm an idiot, it's fine with me if they just say it as it is.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
power.
And that is under attack right now. That's what's really being threatened, right? Like I was telling you, and there's Jordan Peterson talks out about this a lot about, these laws that might limit the way somebody gets offending people. Well, who's to say what's offensive? What
Yeah,
offends you,
exactly.
what offends me are not going to be the same thing. Like and you're talking, when you talk to us, like you're in a group talking to 100 people and you offend, like if what he says is if you talk about anything worth talking about, anything that's important, you're going to offend some person. You're going to offend
Somebody is
someone.
going to be.
That's just the way
Yeah.
it is. You can't avoid that. So who gets to govern that? Who gets to state that? It's just
Not only who gets to govern that, but it's a point of view of a victim who blames the others and depends on the other. So I'm only happy if no one says something that I decree offensive.
right.
So I say, when somebody tells me they offended me, I say, that's on you. You felt offended. Let's work on that.
100%. Thank you. Yes, that's the
That's
thing. Like I didn't
you.
mean to
That's
offend
you.
you. You're offended?
Yeah.
Okay, well, sorry. That's not what my intention
Well,
was.
it doesn't matter, even if you meant to offend them. It's still up to them to be offended or not. I don't get offended. It's just like if somebody thinks what I'm saying is idiotic, that's fine.
Right.
It doesn't bother me at all. It's not a problem. So when we teach children to be offended by saying, "Oh no, don't say that, that hurts, etc., you're hurting her feeling," and then they suffer unnecessarily and they can't handle life because life is full of offense.
Right.
And we teach them to be the victim and depend on what other people say.
So what if you have the child who keeps causing harm to others, that's really rude or mean or a bully? Like there's a big anti-bullying movement before in schools they were just bullies and nobody really did anything about it. What
Yeah,
about in cases like that?
that's very good question. So there are two things. I still teach the one bullied. I'm talking with words, okay? Because bullying physical is yet another subject.
Yes.
To accept and to maybe be sensitive in the real sensitive way, as in compassionate, and wonder this bully must be in pain.
Mm.
Why is he speaking this way?
Mhm.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
Maybe at home his parents are mistreating him or her.
Yeah.
And you try, I've helped a child here in my community. There was one child who was bullied, 13 years old. There's a lot of problems in school, and his mother seeked my advice. My own son became a good friend of his because my son knew how to do it. He brought the best of him.
He
Because
was a bully or he was being bullied? He was the bully? This boy?
that boy was the bully.
Was the bully. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And my son was not bullied by him because he connected with him. So
Mm.
I would teach people not only how to not be offended by it, especially when it's a bully, it's obviously something going on for them that's really painful, or they
Right.
wouldn't need to do that. It's like,
Mhm.
how much pain do you have to have before you hurt someone else? You have to be so frustrated. Notice in yourself how much you try to be kind, and how, if you're not kind to your own family members or whatever, and you raise your voice and you use bad words, how much pain had to drive you to get there.
Mhm.
So the bully in school, it's not about punishment. It's the same with criminals. Yeah, you have to put them away for safety, but you don't need to punish them, but to connect with them and do good psychology and connect them back to their goodness and bring out the pain. So it's a whole different point of view with the bully. So even when it's physical bullies, I teach how to connect with them. So the counselor of the school or the parents, he needs to find out what's happening at home,
Right.
because bullies have been bullied. Nobody is a bully that wasn't themselves bullied.
Right.
The famous psychiatrist Alice Miller wrote books upon books about it. And the book about that, she gives 3 examples of criminals. One of them is Hitler, and why they had to become criminals based on how they were raised. They had to become this killer, horrible psychopath. And again, people react in different ways and come with their own personality and spirit, and sometimes survive abuse and become, somebody who would never do it to another person. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It happens a lot.
A
In
lot.
fact,
More
the
than I
human,
knew.
yes,
Yeah.
the human spirit is amazing, which is another reason in favor of what we're talking about today. It's like, even when the child suffers, or had a trauma, it doesn't mean they'll become bad. It doesn't mean that we have to caress it all over the place because they can't handle it. They can handle it. They can grow up and become a compassionate person. But we need to give them what Alice Miller calls the enlightened witness. They need to see that there is a space for goodness, that there are people who recognize goodness. So, but the bully subject is probably a subject for another talk.
Okay.
But definitely teaching the children, oh, you're the good guys and the bully bullied you and they're the bad guys, that doesn't help.
Right.
We need to not take sides and to listen to every side. So what my son did with this boy is, I encouraged him to become a friend and to learn about him and to let him talk about what bothers him about other kids. And they became very good friends. There was never occasion of aggression between them, never.
Wow.
And so this bully, who had no friends in school, had one friend.
Yeah. Nice.
Had one friend that they moved off the island. So I don't know what, that it necessarily continued in a good way, but it was an adopted kid with lots of problems, lots of issues. So, yeah, but it's all about compassion and about emotional resilience and taking responsibility to oneself, because being defensive is not taking responsibility. It's saying the other did it to me. So parents should allow children to be, let's say, with grandparents or others who were not as kind to them as their own parents. So grandma doesn't want your 4 years old to jump on the couch. That's all right. I went to grandma and she got angry that I jumped on the couch. At home, you can jump on the couch. At grandma, you can't. She's a different person. Get on with it. And also the principle of moving to the future rather than analyzing the past and who was wrong and who was right. He shouldn't have rejected me. He shouldn't have hit me. He shouldn't, like, what do you want to do instead? Move on. Teach children that they can recover from their pain. But not with denial, if they're crying or you see in their face that there is emotion, tell me about what you experienced. But you don't want to turn it into some kind of adoration of feelings. How did you feel? How did you feel? Tell me again how you feel. Draw how you feel. Do this, show me here, show me there. To some degree, it's a question of balance. Show me how much you want to get rid of your little baby brother. Sure. I give them a doll and I say them, show me what you want to do. And they'll smash it and cut it and do all this stuff. And I say, yeah, I understand. And now they know they don't have to feel guilty about it either. And that they stay as capable and powerful, just expressing what's going on inside. So I still support self-expression, but don't put words into it and dramatize it and dig into it and make it into a God. How we feel is not that important. It's like it's important in the moment that the feeling is there in order to express it and recover, and then it's over. Okay.
And is that fully feeling it in the moment and expressing it so we can move on out through you, right? The feeling
Yeah.
must move, right?
And you learn, and then the child learns. If I cry all the way, my mother doesn't tell me, don't cry. My father doesn't tell me, shut up. She just says, sure, I understand that this hurts. Would you like me to hold you while you cry? You can cry as long as you need. And they cry, but you don't relate to it like it's a bad thing. It's a good thing. You need to cry until you're fine, and then you're fine. Okay, now I'm ready to go play.
What if a kid's response to anything is to cry? Like, what if they're crying all the time? Like, do you teach them at a point, well, some things are worth crying over and sometimes, we don't need to cry? Like, what do you do when it's excessive?
Well, but that's a result of everything we were talking about till now. We taught the child, if your child is crying over little things, like we say, adults getting depression over trivial things, a friend isn't talk to them anymore and they can't move on, or they didn't get an A+ on a test and they feel like the end of the world. It's the same with children, but we teach it to them as children. So if your child is crying easily over every little thing, that means he already learned that the internal message is, I can't handle anything that isn't perfect, that not getting what I want. So you just gradually change. You stop hampering this feeling thing and oh no, what a bummer. Everything I said before, you just stop doing that.
Right.
But you don't want to start suppressing feelings. That's not our job, right? But he gradually, if you don't adore all the feelings he says or crying about everything, if you respond with, oh, okay, so you scraped your knee or your friend hit you or your friend didn't play with you or he ruined your tower or whatever happened, would you like me to hold you while you cry? Rather than let's fix it. See, that's a totally different reaction.
Very different. It is very, and the parent wants to fix it. You feel their pain.
Right.
It's hard to see your baby in pain, right? And you want to fix it, but you don't help them when you want to fix it. So yeah, but I can see it's totally different.
And in a way, it's selfish on the side of the parent. The parent wants to feel, they want a happy child all the time.
Right.
And that's not possible. So I'm still standing by my first chapter in the book that self-expression is important, but it's about self-expression, not about fixing. It's almost the opposite of fixing.
Right.
I'm letting them express themselves because I'm not fixing anything. They have to face reality. So they come out of the playroom, they won't play with me, they told me to leave. okay, what would you, maybe before saying what would you like to do instead, if I see that the child is really distraught, I say, okay, would you like me to hold you for a while? It looks like you're really sad about it and you want to cry, and I'm here for you. And I give them a hug, I sit with them. And so I'm telling them in a way that it's all right to feel a feeling. It's not a God and it's not a reason to go and change reality. And you are capable of going through the feeling. We don't have to stop the feeling.
And
So the
that's where,
cries over every little thing. If you start being this way with them and you stop pampering and changing reality to attend to the feeling, to fix it so that they don't feel it. See, what this parent did is they always took away the pain. So the child is thinking, oh, time for mommy to fix the problem so I don't have this pain. But if the child cries and you let them know that it's all right to cry and you can hold them or be with them or whatever they want, and then when they're done, you just move on into a future, not into fixing the past, not into blaming anyone. We're responsible. This is reality. I always say, look at life like nature phenomena. You don't fight the rain. You don't fight the tsunami. Your child wants to go out and it's pouring rain. You don't say, let's go change the rain. I'll stop the rain for you. But parents do that in relationship with siblings and friends and broken banana. I've seen parents go to the store to get a whole banana when they are out and the only banana at home is broken. It's like the child can handle a broken banana. Or there's this story, I was at a family intensive where I was at the family's home and the parents went out and there was a babysitter and there was a new doll that they bought their daughter. And it turned out when they came back that the child gave the doll, the babysitter probably made a big deal. It was, oh, what a wonderful doll. I love this doll, probably part of, again, the culture of overdoing praising, making the child feel great and all that. So the child gave her the doll. Of course, the child didn't mean that she would keep it.
right.
So anyway, the babysitter went home with the doll. The parents, unbeknown to them, I don't know how that happened, probably in her bag or something. And as soon as she left, the child started crying, I want my doll. It was 11 p.m. The mother was ready to drive 15 minutes each way to the babysitter's home to retrieve the doll.
Okay.
See, that teaches to be weak, fragile, and the child now learns if I cry, the universe changes for me, and I can't handle not having the doll right now. I can't handle intense sadness. If instead the mother, and I was there, so she did the instead because I didn't let her go. Right? Well, they paid me to do that, so that's my job. And I said, just be with your daughter. And yeah, the self-expression is still valid. She can cry about the doll, that she made a mistake. She gave it and she really didn't mean that. She didn't mean that for the babysitter to actually take it to her own home. And that tomorrow the babysitter is going to come anyway and, during the day and she'll bring it back. But that part actually should not be said right away because that's a little bit of a resolving.
Right, like a little carrot dangling, right?
Yes,
Yes,
like it'll all be all right,
Yeah.
But let her cry about that tonight. She doesn't have the doll to go to bed with. And this was a 5-year-old girl, or 5 or 6, I don't remember exactly. But it's, to give the child the sense of power that they can handle reality does not contradict self-expression. But the parents have to change their way and stop fixing things. And self-expression is for self-expression. That's it. It's its own venue. It's not a way to get something. You don't tantrum to get something. You don't cry to get something. You cry because you're sad. You tantrum because you're angry. and you can tantrum as long as you need.
Okay.
And we need to be real with our kids, and we need to model and engage them in real society. You know, people used to tell me that my children behave like adults. I didn't work at it. We were just treating them like adults, right? We were adults in the room and we behaved like adults. And when we went in public, we behaved like adults, and they wanted to succeed in public. So they behaved like us. They learned how to behave. And sometimes we would tell them what the rules are, like a concert or a restaurant or a movie. You know, it's like, this is how we do it. And they got excited. They're going to be like one of the adults sitting on a chair quietly and watching the movie. They did,
That's
you
not my
know,
son. My son wouldn't have done it. No, he wasn't ready for that early. That's for sure.
yeah. And when they're not ready, don't take them.
Right.
You know, my kids were nuts about music, and
Yeah.
and my kids were present in me giving lectures as toddlers because there was no choice. You know, I would go public speaking, and my husband will come with the kids, holds the little nursing one in his arms, waiting for the for the break.
Yes.
And they would sit there on the side. The oldest one may listen a little bit. The others will play. We give them some puzzles and crayons and whatever, so that they can be in the same room with mommy if they wanted to. And they knew, you know, mommy goes on stage and speaks, or
Right.
being interviewed on the TV station, and they wait in the lobby of the TV station. And then we're going, you know, to the park. Of
Right.
course, you make sure to meet their needs first and all that. But it's really pitiful to see what's happening to people now. Young people are just really wimps. They're so vulnerable, so weak emotionally. They're not prepared for life. They can't handle real life. They're having, you know, a total breakdown anytime something doesn't go their way. Because at age 2, when they had a breakdown, when the toy truck broke, parents replaced it right away rather than let them face it.
Right. Letting them face it. That's a really big thing. And another thing you said in this list of topics you're saying is that we're teaching them to be triggered.
Yes.
So what do you mean? How specifically are children being taught for that?
Well, you know, that it's kind of the same thing as being offended. It's like if we say to a child, no, you're not stupid, or is it true? Like, recognize that you're wonderful, you're not stupid, and mama loves you, and you're very smart, and all that. Then we're teaching them that if somebody calls them stupid, they should be triggered. It's a wrong thing to happen to you.
Oh, okay, fair.
See?
Yeah.
So I like to stay with a repeat example through a conversation like this, because it just becomes clearer and clearer, and we don't have to tell another story.
Right.
So that example is very useful for us in this conversation,
Well,
because there's so much in it.
so much. And then what you're saying about how people can't handle things. I mean, just look at the last 4 years, and people were so afraid to state if they didn't agree with the common narrative. So many people would just zip it. They just suppressed themselves. They disrespected themselves to remain, because they were so afraid of what people would think of them. It's like, who cares what they
Yes.
think? It doesn't change who you are. You are you. Like,
Yes.
we
And
care
by the
so
way,
much, and it was
yes,
everywhere, and people were like, they were just saying how they were thanking me for being vocal, and it's like, well, I can't not. I mean, if you know what you stand for, you know you have a line, and don't you dare cross that. And that's what I'm
yes,
trying to teach our
and you know what, Sasha, that actually enables bullying. That turns the person who doesn't dare to talk, now the other person feels more enormous in wanting to control.
Yeah.
So it only creates more of the violence, symbolically speaking. It doesn't have to be
Right.
physical violence, but
Yes.
we get more censorship, we get more
100%.
aggressive behavior toward those of us who are just, you know, shutting our mouth and don't talk and don't say what we have to say. In some places, there is no choice. I am in a hiking group where they decided that we don't talk about vaccines and politics because of the disagreements. I see them once a week. I have a great hike in nature, and bless their heart, but can't talk with them about it. But then in other places, I open my mouth because, it's like, no, you can't ride over me and tell me to keep my mouth closed unless we have a real friendship and an agreement to not talk about certain subjects. And we do that. I mean, like, I have family members who are totally on a different page about politics and social issues, and I speak up,
Mhm.
and they know, and they say that we're living in different worlds, and yeah, we are.
We are, really, truly. Our realities and our paradigms and our basis for all our ideas are completely different. They just,
Yes. And we could be wrong. Either one of us could be wrong. There's no question about that. I'm always saying, look, prove me wrong. I'm happy to hear and to learn something. So again, no defense. If we can have a conversation like in couples therapy, because I do marriage a lot and save most marriages, I teach this process that again comes from Byron Katie of no defense. So we write a worksheet and we read to each other all the negative judgmental thoughts that we have. And the listener, about whom it is, the job is to say thank you on each one of them and to find it. To say thank you, I can find it.
the game.
And then do the inquiry, the 4 questions and turnaround with each person. It's magical. It takes time, but it's absolutely magical to be not defensive. And it's what Zen Buddhism teaches you. There is the famous Zen story that would be a wonderful thing to tell here about a samurai general in Japan going from village to village, killing everybody, conquering one village after the other. And at some point, the villagers leave before he arrives there. And he loves that because, they're afraid of me. I come there and they're like mice, they're gone. Because it's not like he wants to kill everybody. He's happy to just conquer the city. So they come to some small village, and at the top of the hill, there is a monastery, and there is an old, little, skinny monk, right? Zen master that didn't escape.
Mhm.
So his soldiers, they scan the town and they come back to the general and say to him, there is a monk up there, a Zen master who didn't escape. And he's angry. Like, what? Does he know who I am? It's like, and he take me there. So he goes up there. He's big. He has a sword, and the little guy has nothing. He just has in his robe and small. And he says to him, don't you know who I am? Don't you know you're standing in front of somebody that can have his sword run through you without blinking an eye? The little guy says, and do you know who I am? Someone who can have your sword go through me without me blinking an eye.
Right. Nice. Right.
So we want to teach children to be that powerful. It's not about being a doormat and letting yourself be killed. It's about reality is reality. I mean, in this case, yeah, he could have been killed. That's because stories take it to the extreme. But can you take criticism without blinking an eye? Can somebody calls you a stupid, idiot, whatever, mean without you blinking an eye, but rather, thank you. Yeah, I can find that. I have some examples I can find.
Yes.
And sometimes people say absurd things, maybe they say something that just cannot be true because you've never done it. I like to give the example of somebody tells me you're smoking too much and your smoke, the stink comes to your neighbor's house. And I've never smoked in my life. So I can still say thank you. I can still say, well, I haven't found it yet, but I'll look. Maybe I walk in my sleep and smoke. Maybe I'm a different person. Maybe there is So again, that's extreme, and nobody would say that anyway. But the point is, we don't have to be defensive. Defense is an act of war. Attack does not finalize it as war, but the defense does. So what the Zen master did, he was no defense. Go ahead and run your sword through me, because I am this powerful person who can have sword run through me without blinking an eye. Criticize me, I'm fine with it.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
do this to me, you know, whatever. Take my thoughts away, put me in prison. You know, there are political prisoners who wrote books in prison, and there are others who shriveled to death.
Right. Right.
So it depends what you do with the reality the way it is.
Right.
And a child can handle things, and then we teach them that they cannot handle things.
Right. And we do. We really, really do. We teach them that they can't handle things, and it's gotten to the point where it's very apparent, and that we've got these. It's like, it's that saying that the strong men make easy times, easy times make weak men make hard times make strong men. Right? We're going through
Exactly.
that right now. We've got a whole bunch of weakness.
Yes.
Right?
And we raise children with such ease and addiction to comfort, and to comfort foods, and to just comfort temperature, always being able to sleep in comfort when you're tired, and eat the moment you are a little hungry, or have a desire for carbs, which isn't even hunger. So it's like everything in a child's life today in modern society, affluent society like yours, mine, the child basically has no chance to suffer and to practice being able to handle pain, because we keep taking the pain away as if it's a monster. But pain isn't monster. Pain is another thing a child needs to learn to handle. A scraped knee needs to be handled. A burn needs to be handled. I know it hurts. It's fine to say, you know, over time that we put the aloe vera on, it'll go away. Just hold the, you know, with burns, I put aloe vera leaves on it. The pain goes away quite fast. I understand your friend doesn't want to play with you. And, you know, there are other things to do in life. We don't have to immediately make it be what you want to play with your friend.
Yes.
And teach them inclusiveness and all. Yeah, it's not, you know, we do this communication workshop about everything. A child's life didn't turn out in this minute exactly who they want to play with, or the game isn't going right. They took my ball this way and they put it there, and I wanted him there. It's like, that's how it is.
Yes. Yes.
That's when you're powerful. You're rooted in yourself. You're not adoring yourself and fragile in yourself and thinking that your self-image has to be constantly adored and perfect. No.
Right.
You're an ordinary human being. You can cry, you know, you can laugh, you can cry, you can have things happen to you, and you can interact with other people who are not like your parents, being so careful to do everything right. They may not treat you as nice, you know. Like I have a client in Italy who was talking about the coach of her 8 years old son. And the coach is, they already changed schools because the other coach was really rough. But this one is still rough. He still criticizes him and tells him. And I told him that's not a problem. If he doesn't want to play football anymore, that's fine. He can choose that. But if he still preferred to stay to play, that's an experience of how a coach of a football treats people, children.
Yeah, that's tough though. Like we had a coach once, my son used to play hockey, and there was one coach, and it was just too young the way he was being treated. The problem is is that a good coach can set you up for the love of the game for the rest of your life, and the bad coach can just, you know, throw that off for the rest of your life too. And there are bad coaches. Like we had one who was like, no way.
Yes.
We had to talk to other parents like, this is not appropriate for these kids at this age.
Yeah.
At 6 years old, my kid needs to have fun
Yeah.
before he gets, so he can
Yes.
be the competitor when he's older, when it really matters, the competing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's fine, you know, and that's what this family did too in Italy, because they moved to another school. This coach is much better, but still is a football coach. What do you expect?
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
or my kids took music lessons. They were, musically gifted, and they took music lessons, and some of the teachers were, old-fashioned with praise and demands. And I mean, my kids were such exceptional students that they didn't encounter much negativity because the teachers were mostly taken by them. But there was one time that I don't remember what the piano teacher said or did, but my youngest son, he was 7 years old. He came home and he drew 7 pictures that describe his revenge of the piano teacher. It's like he called it Sarah, I'm changing the name for
Yes.
confidentiality,
Yes.
Sarah's bad day. So it
Ah!
started alarm clock with a coffee spilling, with one thing after the other that she does. She ends up, the house is on fire with her in it. And then he would tell it to me a few times, and that self-expression. So he told me how he felt. It didn't mean we're changing teacher. I mean, I asked him if he said, no, she's a very good teacher. But she's a Russian teacher, those teachers are sometimes,
Definitely.
yes. She was relatively to most Russian teachers, because I've seen, because of my kids, a lot of Russian teachers. She and another Russian teacher he had were very gentle. He had a cello teacher who was phenomenal and never, I mean, he spoke harsh, but with humor. He did it with humor, so it was very good. But I could see even with him, other kids would have been insulted. Like I remember him saying that certain tone that he produced with the bow sounded like a cow sliding on an iceberg. Something. So he gives this funny image.
Yes.
And he said to him, but I know other kids who would be insulted by all the images of bad sound. My kids were laughing. It was like, yeah, that's a good analogy. I heard it. That was not a good tone. It's like, thank you.
Right.
Tell me more,
Right.
So, taking home the thank you and tell me more, the non-defense, makes people who don't seek external approval can give to themselves whatever approval they need, and they don't need it because they're fine with themselves not being perfect. Then we have powerful people in a society that doesn't have to cancel people and silence people and protect their space and make a safe space where you can only say certain things and otherwise your mouth is shut and everything. So it really goes in all layers of life right now, and it's disastrous, and it's scary to see how many young adults are doing so badly.
Yes.
So we must, I hope that parents are hearing this, a lot of parents, and that we change direction, because there's still young kids around and they're going to grow up into the next generation. We need to raise powerful human beings who can handle real life and real humans and real criticism, and just be able to move on and not be victims that tell the bully what to do so that they wouldn't feel victimized, because
Right.
that doesn't work.
Right.
That
Right.
creates division and war and isolation and loneliness, and it's just really not where we want to go. We need to be emotionally resilient.
Emotional resilience, and that is not what I would use as a descriptor for the vast majority of people these days. And working as I do part-time in a shop where people are coming in looking for things, and something like the anxiety, the depression, the not knowing of self, it's just
Yes.
so prevalent across the ages now.
Well, they can't know themselves when they're busy pleasing others and looking
Yes.
good and dominating others. It's really bullying the others. You can't say this to me or I'll be offended. Well, being offended doesn't mean you're right. It's something happening inside of you, and you can't bully the other person and control their mouth. It's just such a weak position to be in, that now you're dependent on changing the other person and dictating to them what they can say or not say. That's really, really weak.
Very weak.
And we're doing the damage emotionally, behaviorally, in how we set things up, and including, what we feed our kids, what toxins of all kinds they're exposed to through life, air, water, medicine, food, whatever it is also causing brain damage in variety of ways that doesn't help with all this. So we're bombarding our kids with weakness, with um, rescuing them from real life instead of empowering them to face life. That's a good final
That's
sentence.
a really good final sentence. I agree. Okay, so if people want to find out more about you, Naomi, where can they go?
So they can go to my website, naomialdort.com, or authenticchild.com, or authentic parent, singular, not parenting, authenticparent.com, either one that you remember better. And there are articles, there are videos, there are some programs that one can buy, workshops, like a 3 days workshop,
Okay.
and a 1 day workshop that you can buy and do at home. And the most useful thing that I see people use the most is the sign up for sessions with me or doing family intensives. And the sessions are really easy. You pay online or you send a check if you're in the US and you want to save a few dollars. And I send you a form to fill up, and then we make time for a session. And it's like this. You're on Zoom with me, and we go into your life and meet once a week or do it one time, go into deep work, marriage work, relationship work, or just answer questions. What do I do with my baby or my teenager or whatever the problem is, or my kid in college? I have parents who have been with me all the way from the beginning and now have some questions about dealing with a kid in college and what
You're
comes
working
up.
with all ages, right? You're working with
All ages, till adults. I have some grandparents call me. I have a babysitters call me sometimes.
Oh, wow, really?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Once in a
Okay.
while, there's a babysitter. I've done workshops and speaking in Europe and in Australia and in Canada and America. In Europe, I've had quite a few grandparents in the workshop asking questions. I don't travel. I don't think I would travel again because Zoom is so easy now. We can do, and I offer small classes, saves money, and more questions can be asked. So
Right.
sometimes groups that are friends or family with each other, then I have a price for a group of minimum 5 people that can take a class on Zoom, and we book it. So when you go in the website under I don't remember the exact wording for booking a guiding session with Naomi, then it tells you that you can go in the drop down to individual, where you just book your own or your family, you and your spouse or one of your kids or whatever, or a group session if you want to organize a little workshop for your community. They can be in one room together talking to me, or they can be from distances and join on Zoom. So all of that is available. Lots of articles. There's the book, of course. Buy the book.
Everybody who you can see when you're on YouTube, I've got it right here, Raising Our Children, Raising Ourselves. Excellent, excellent book. But this is such a respectful approach of not trying to coerce or manipulate or anything, just knowing the child is fully formed where they're at then there in that time. And it's
Yes.
almost counterintuitive in some way. Like it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, because it really is respectful. That's what I so love about it. It's so respectful of the child. There's no talking down to the child or none of that, no superiority or anything. It's just a really fantastic book. So if you haven't gotten it yet and you're starting on your parenting journey or you're already well in it.
And I'm working on 2 other books. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if they'll be ready before I'm gone. I'm 75 years old. I'm looking for editors. I'm a little lazy. That's the thing. These books, I need someone to, I have a full draft of one of them, and partial draft or another. The other, though, can be the rest of it can be a collection of articles, but it has a good chunk of it. And another one in my head that I'm thinking about the being triggered thing, the offense. I want a book about the subject we talked about. So either one, I'm in a search for somebody who would take them off my back and organize it and get it ready for.
Nice. Anybody, if you know out there, somebody who knows how to get a book out there.
A good editor who is someone who understands my work.
Yes.
And the work of Byron Katie, because it has a lot of that. The new books have a lot of inquiry.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, Naomi, thank you so much. We just organized this a couple days ago, and I'm so glad that it worked out. It's always great to hear from you. I know everybody's going to appreciate that. So thanks for
And if
joining.
people have questions, maybe they can send you their questions and we can do a follow-up and answer questions.
Yeah,
I'd
that'd be
happy
great.
to
That'd
do
be lovely. Absolutely. Okay, folks,
So maybe
please share this. Our children need wise guidance more than ever before. I mean, they're targeted. I mean, the message they're being taught in the schools and in the system, it's horrifying. So please share
Yeah.
this. Thank you for tuning in. And until the next interview, be well.